Hi investors, it's Nick.
Hi, Summer.
And today we are going to talk about areas which are perceived as high risk from a demographic point of view, but could actually offer a lot of value. And with that in mind, we're going to start with Martin, and he's going to show us this area which we're talking about Oldham, aren't we, here today?
Yeah, Oldham, Rochdale, this place, and Middleton, so we can speak about this.
Yeah. And what we're going to do is just look at some property deals, some demographics, and just kind of put together an equation on this and hopefully help you make a decision as to whether you find these areas interesting to invest in or not. Broadly, I think they are interesting, mainly because the bulk of investors, let's say, are afraid of these places. And that means there's less investor competition, which is a big factor when thinking about capital gain or let's say inflating prices and so on. And what we really care about long term are areas that go up in value because owner occupiers drive the prices. So we got that, and we're looking for value, obviously. So areas that are basically undersold is a good way of thinking about it. Now, Martin, would you be able to share your screen and just show us some examples of properties of interest? Now, we're not saying that location is going to be perfect or anything like this, because when we analyze properties, they go through a big assessment process to weed out location, but properties are in bad locations or got condition risk or whatever. But this is just an outline example of some properties which could work.
Yeah. So I want to start about first what you can see on the map. You can see house icons. Yellow are flats, but in this case I hide the flats. You have detached house. Is a light blue. Terrace house is pink. Green is semi-detached. Another type like a bungalow or townhouse or similar type, or its other type on this red. So when you zoom in, I will speak like location called Oldham near Manchester. So basically, you can see that we'll show you the demographic. You can see the capital growth in this kind of array is really high. And I will just zoom in so you can see better the numbers. Yeah. The numbers in the circle represent the capital growth. Amazing, but when you zoom in, and when you will see that the area is not the best. Usually, the scores, everything what is above 55 is okay. The circle represent score inside the number, so everything below that's really bad. So the outside circle where is a gray, where you can see, that's mean how dark it is. That means that's a lot of social houses it have. So basically, we're trying to avoid location where you have a lot of social houses. And also you can see second circle, it's English speaking, which is really important metric. So how red it is, that's good. So if it's like a light red, that means it's not the best area because people don't speak English, a lot of them. So it's not the best area to invest. This is the main reasons and the main why you need to avoid this kind of demographic. There is many other reasons, but this is like the most. You need to speak English. And
well, yeah, it's England, right? So in English, the national language is in England. The national language is English, and if you have areas where the population, the local population, is extensively does not speak English as a first language, then they are culturally separated from the rest of the country and therefore the rest of the economy. And what then happens is that they're less economically productive typically, and that means that the areas where these culturally exclusive groups reside become poorer and poorer over time, and that leads to capital loss. And as an investor, that's a really bad idea. So what we're interested in are areas which have decent demographics, good proportion of people speaking English as a first language, clear demarcation lines from areas which are culturally exclusive, where we know that there's a kind of border. So here's a very good example, in fact, where you have on the left side, you've got a culturally exclusive area, and on the right side, then you've got this park, and you've got a natural kind of demarcation line between the areas. And what you'll find is that the area on the left will gradually become more and more culturally exclusive. The area on the right will remain not so much so. But we can talk.
You can see the English speaking, the second circle. You can see how light it is. Basically, people don't speak English, and if you go to the right, you can see starting increasing. And basically, before the park, as Nick said, is okay, and after the park is much better. So just saying, like, how the color.
If you look at the bottom, you see where it says 71, 78 down there. We're near the flood risk. That sort of area there, that will eventually be culturally exclusive, and it's just a question of time.
Yeah, so I will avoid, for example. But also maybe here, really near the park, maybe first houses to avoid. But this part, you can see in the numbers and so on. It's really nice.
So the principle that we're looking for when we analyze areas, by the way, the principle is that we want areas which have a physical separation between culturally exclusive areas and have good demographics. So this is a very good example, actually, this whole patch.
Yeah.
And so we want good demographics on one side, and we want good value. So can you show us a couple of properties, and then I'll do some stuff on capital gain and demographics as well.
I just want to point out that also we have a crime data. You can see the policemen represent
a lot of crime data.
That shows the crime. But I just want to point out that you can see the demographics here. The score is good, but you can see a lot of crime. So that doesn't mean if the demographics are good that the crime will be lower. That's not the case. So I'm just saying that. But you can see that usually in the really good demographic, the crime will be low. But also, like if you go in and depends if it have commercial around schools, pub or so. It's normal if it's a pub to have a more crime around. That's normal because people get drunk or just saying, or school will fight near the school and so on. So,
but also just to say, just for the avoidance of doubt, if you zoom out a little bit and we look at some of the more culturally exclusive areas, what you'll find very often, if you zoom back in, this is a good example, that crime isn't necessarily high at all. In fact, crime is fairly reasonable. Okay, it's a bit high there, but a lot of these quieter roads, very quiet. And very law-abiding people, very good law-abiding people. It's just that they're economically deprived, and that's why it's a problem for an investor. Otherwise, culturally, it's all good. But
you can see like a really low crime in this patch. Demographic not the best, but you can see really quiet, really nice. Yeah, but definitely. Yeah, so just saying.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with cultural exclusivity as such. It's just from a financial point of view, it's something to be very aware of because you have capital decline. But anyway, let's have a look at a few properties in better areas, just to kind of highlight the kind of deals you can get.
Yeah, really good condition. You can see. Nice one. The price is okay, but the demographics are not the best. For example, if you go to the
so let's see exactly what we're interested in are these patches. So in this video, what we're trying to explain here, I guess, is that there are lots of areas which are kind of regarded as no-go areas, but in fact work because people are afraid of them for not any particularly good reason, and therefore there's value, and that's what we want to talk about.
Yeah, so this is like also good property, older property. You can see it's like 120 years old, maybe or more, I think. You can see the asking price is 170 in the better area, and you have better property, newer terrace house, in not the best area, but really close by, 155 the asking price, and similar condition. But for example, if this property was in the better area, it would be 180 the asking price.
So what kind of yeah, well, let's have a look at a couple more properties.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you check in that area, I will show you now also. Just give me a second. It's here. So, properties. So, like this property is not in the, here is one there, semi-detached house, 250 in not the best area. Why to buy 250 semi-detached house in not the best area when you can buy much better area for the same price? The conditions are good, but this is not the best area.
Well, it's been extensively modernized and people will be attracted to that, of course, but that's not a good reason to buy there.
Yeah, but you can see that the area, and I will zoom in just to show you the crime. This is also really near, here you have a new builds. Well, so you can see the crime level, 40 crimes around, 5 crime, but you have burglary, so basically, not the best area and the price so high. For this price, you can buy 3-bedroom in Stockport, for example. Why to buy here for this price? So also you have like here, you can see the terrace house, 140. This is ex-social house. With not the best access road near park, and 140 asking.
Yeah.
So for example, this one is also, in my point, is no go.
It's a relatively new build, I think. So the question is, Martin, and also it's got the slopey roof, which I dislike, and it's on a slope. But the question is, where is their value? Because that's the reason people are watching.
Yeah. So, for example, you have like places where it's between Oldham and Middleton. So these places are here good. It still count as Oldham postal, but you can find, like, here is the highways, for example. This one property here, it will be a good value. It's 150. I will show. 155. The rent will be, I think, around 700. Yes, interesting. But okay, ignore that it's near the shop. So this is no go. But I'm just saying, you can find a better spot and it will have a value and it will not have a lot of competition just because it's in the border between bad area and good area. So I'm just saying that, and you can see by the score, it's good, still holding up. So it's good. But for example, for me, this will be no go. For example, this house, 179, semi-detached house. I will not go because no English speaking, lower demographics. So I will not buy a property here, for example. And also it looks like social house, ex-social house, and it did quite renovation, a lot of money spent. So this is just an example where I will not purchase. But for example, this is between Oldham and Middleton. I will buy here in this area, and it will have a value. And also you can see the capital growth numbers are.
So let's just pick a house and get a rent. So if you open up, I don't know, find a house that could work, and
yeah, so I will find in not the best area. I will just compare just to see how it works. For example, this one property, 130 asking price, which is not in the good area, but you will see that the yield will be okay. Let's say 5,000 for renovation. That's 10,000.
It's in good condition.
Yeah, but let's say 5,000. The asking price is 130. And let's say you will buy for 135. And I guess you will rent it for 700 at least. So 700. Well, and you need to pay 135, 5,000 for renovation, so 140, let's say. So it will give you 6% of yield, but you will not buy a property in really good demographic because you can see the score is not the best, and there is crime. You can see not a lot of English speaking, even if it's new builds here, and the crime is low, but the demographics will be not great. So that's the point. Like, I will not buy here. This is just me. But if you go a little bit in the better spot, and I will try to find similar property. Also 140. Asking. Let's say it need painting and so on. It needs like 7,000-8,000 for renovation. The rent will be I think 725 or so. 750. So again, we'll give you 750 by 12, and you need to spend like 10,000 to take it for 160, everything. So it will give you 5.6% yield, but you will buy much better rate. So you can see also by the score. So usually the yield is higher in not the best areas.
Okay, so I think the big question is from property deal point of view. Are you seeing? Well, I know you like Middleton a lot. So overall, as long as you're on the left side of that river, you're good. Basically, is that roughly what you're saying?
I think this is the highway. This highway, Broadway. This is like a borderline, because you have here some good spots you can see.
Well, let's look at the gross numbers. So
also this place here is nice.
Right. What area is that?
It's called, just to see,
South Chatterton, isn't it?
Yeah, Chatterton. Yeah.
Yeah.
For example, this one here near the highway, near the motorway, the circle around Manchester is a good place. And you can see by the score. But the issue is with this, the yield doesn't work really great. If you buy, for example, if you buy a property here, the yield will be around 6%. If you're buying better area, it will be 5.6 or so. So usually the yield is better in not the best area. So if you want to compromise, not death demographics, but you want to have a yield, yeah, you can go for it. But we will not suggest you to do it. So.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. We're going to just dig into a bit of capital growth data. And just put you over there. All right, so we've got Rotherham. We were looking at Rotherham earlier for an assessment. If we're looking at, say, Oldham, for example, now I'm going to zoom right out and I'm now going to zoom in. And it'll give you a high-level overview of what we're talking about. So do you remember Martin said earlier the light-colored areas are what you would describe as culturally exclusive? So here's an area here, 58% main language is English, and then we have lower middle class, a lot of private rented. And one of the characteristics of these more culturally exclusive areas, oddly enough, is the high proportion of private rented. Also, there's quite a lot of quite peaceful, so it's low crime, but these areas suffer badly from capital decline. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And we can see here, if I look at this from peak of market, which was June 2008, last property cycle, so the last peak of the last boom, it's 21% in real terms below peak. So in other words, you adjust for inflation. And that's quite a lot. It's not outrageous, but it's quite a lot. This area here is actually more or less on a par with the previous. Now this is quite interesting because the numbers are okay here and the market is going up in this patch. But the thing you've got to be aware of is that in an area like this, your pool of tenants is relatively small because they are local people who are, let's say, culturally connected with that particular minority. and therefore you have a relatively small pool of people to rent to. So it's not just the capital gain numbers, it's also the scope or the number of people you can rent to. So if we go down here and we look at this patch here, for example, we can see the growth numbers are much higher and way above, well, they're neutral with 2008 crash. They've gone up 43% since 2013. This is inflation adjusted. So generally that's a correlation you see. Now this area is spiked up a lot. And in fact, it's 11% off peak, but that's because something's happened here in the last year. Generally, the growth has been very, very slow. And then in 2001, there was a massive growth spread. And that's usually because there's been new build or something like that, that it's affected the local market.
Or social houses becoming social houses.
Yeah, sale of ex-local authority property can be a big thing. But broadly, I think what we're saying is that as long as you pay attention to the demographics, you watch the demarcation lines, you pick areas where there is a natural kind of border line between one group and another, that's okay. And for example, railways are very good demarcation lines. So here is a good example. It would probably be better to buy in this area here than this area here. And in fact, if we look, yeah, it's the railway is the natural demarcation line here. And therefore, I think if I were looking for value, I might look in this patch here, just because I think a lot of investors would be nervous because it might have the Oldham name on it, but actually by local character, it's not that sort of area at all. And that's an example.
Yeah, we had one interesting situation where like in Doncaster, new Edmonton location, where like there is borderline, the natural borderline is a road. So I can show that.
Yeah.
The right now.
And then we'll finish up and just draw a conclusion. The main point is we're making we're highlighting sets of principles here. So what we're saying is there is value if you pay attention to the demographics and the natural demarcation lines. Then you can find places that a lot of other investors are afraid of because they don't understand what's going on in the area, and that makes it a good opportunity. Yep. So what you're looking for is very stable, solid capital gain over time, and physical borderlines, as it were. So can you share your screen?
So basically, this is the location. This is really near Doncaster, and this is near Edmonton. So basically, all these parts is not the best one. But the issue with this is this part of here is a road. So basically, everything what's here, this part here, and some parts of here are not the best area where you should buy. And you can see all of these are here, new builds, and here is coming new builds, and you can see the score here, how good it is. So when you zoom in, the crime data will show. So you can see that here how quiet it is. With no crime, really quiet. When you compare it to here, for example, 113 crimes happen. And this is like the natural borderline is the road. So you can see the crime, how lower it is. Here is higher just because of shoplifting and so on, basically because of the market. This wise, that's not the issue. I'm just saying here you don't have a shop, you don't have anything, but look how crime it is, how it's high. So that's why it's good to choose like a better place to invest than that. And for example, here in this area, you have the prices for the semi-detached house is going around 800 to 100 K for a 3-bedroom semi-detached, and this part is going 150, 160. And yes, they are new build, but demographics. that's much better. So that's normal. So yeah, that's like just showing you how you can, like, usually you have like a natural borderlines. Even the people speak English, even that is not ethnically divided, it's a crime group who are here the issues. So,
yeah, and it's just it's another example of how one has to be careful about which areas one picks. But okay, so should we just wrap up and just sort of summarize? So the principle is obviously it's not as succinct a video as I would have liked, but anyway, the main principle is that you get areas which have a bad name, like Rotherham or Bradford or Oldham, these kind of places. But when you dig in deeper and you understand which demographic areas which areas are good demographically, which have those natural demarcation lines, then you can find value. And that's why when we put deals out there, if you see these properties that are in Oldham or Rotherham or whatever, it's not that we're advocating buying in demographically risky areas. We're saying buy in a safe area, but remember that the name may not be associated with the best things, but actually the property is in a good place with good people and will rent out nicely. So that's really the main principle here we're trying to get over in this short video.
I will never suggest a bad location, bad demographic property in our group, WhatsApp group chat. So we always check that, we filter them. So
Yep. So anyway, there it is. Just a little bit of insight into demographics and a couple of deals to show you and so on. And all right, well, on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you.